Many say para-unity is a myth. Many believe that the paranormal community is toxic, filled with egos, know-it-alls, and wannabe celebrities. Let's clear the air here and now. This thing we call para-unity is what we make it. Tonight, let's do something different. Welcome to Necromancer Live. Hello and welcome to the Necromancer Live Show. I am your host, Justin Brown. We are presenting episode 80 tonight with Ernie and David of Paranormal Incorporated. We are very happy to have Ernie and David tonight. I'm going to read off this bio they sent me real quick just to give you an outline. It's a pretty decent sized one, but I would like to thank you for joining us tonight. If you're coming over here from Ernie and Dave's side of the fence, or if you're regular viewer, thank you very much for joining us. But we're going to let you know a little bit about Ernie and David and their journey to the present moment that we are experiencing right now. Ernie Atwell began researching spirits and spirituality in elementary school after taking interest from a religious standpoint as a Catholic school student. Having heard stories from his uncle, who was once in the Catholic priesthood, and first-hand paranormal accounts from his mother. Ernie had his first paranormal experience in 1987 and participated in his first investigation in 1999. Throughout the years, he would venture out and investigate locations that were alleged to be haunted. In 2004, Ernie had an experience which led to his investigating becoming full-time. In 2011, Ernie was asked to join an organized team after being invited along on a case as a guest investigator. In 2016, the team was looking for another investigator, and that's when Ernie brought himself and his friend David Siler along, with him to join him. So in 2017, after months of contemplation, Ernie decided to go solo in his paranormal career, along with Dave being a tech specialist by trade. Told Ernie if he goes solo, he will pretty much, be right there by his side. So, over the years, Paranormal Incorporated has continued to investigate private clients, residences, and businesses in the East Coast area. In doing so, PI is currently traveling, doing 2 different seminars followed by public investigations at the venues and where they speak. In May 2017, Paranormal Incorporated was offered their own radio podcast through WLFE-DB WLFE-DB radio, which airs bi-weekly, and that's called Step Into the Paranormal, I believe. PI is currently participating in various paracons, events, and fundraisers. Paranormal Incorporated is currently working on a project with an upcoming paranormal show where they will be a guest investigators on a future episode that is set to start filming in October 2019. So without further ado, we're bringing Ernie and David over. It looks like that set the ground for a lot of stuff to talk about, right?
We're a little busy.
That's right. I like that. You know, people, if you're going to do it all the way, right?
Yep. So, basically, pretty much all of October, most of November, we're booked pretty much every weekend. No, we are booked at every weekend. We don't even have an opening. So we're someplace either on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or all of the above. So
that's awesome. So, like I said, if you guys don't mind, share this live stream, get it out there to all your friends that enjoy the paranormal. We're going to have a 2-hour sit-down chat with Ernie and Dave tonight, and we're going to have a lot of fun. If you're new to this show, it's pretty simple. We're going to sit down and just have a general conversation about the paranormal, how why they got started, what led them into what they do now, and it'll pretty much branch off into just about anything, I guess. That's usually how it goes. For 2 hours, you got to fill the air, right? So keep the chat classy. Feel free to interact and chat with everybody. We're on YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, and Facebook. Feel free to cross-chat through the platforms, and let's get started with this show, folks. We will take a break midway through, just so you guys know. So don't go anywhere when we do that. But I guess when I ask this question, I guess you're going to have to take turns, and you could figure out who will answer first, who will answer second, or you guys will decide who wants to answer certain questions I ask. The chat may have specific questions for one or two of you or both, but I always start off the show wanting to know if personal experiences led you into having the interest in investigating the paranormal. If not, what did spark your interest in the paranormal?
I'll start off. First, I want, on behalf of Dave and myself, very honored to be on your program, and we've been looking forward to it for months. In the opening, when you read our bio, you mentioned that in '99 I went on my first paranormal investigation, and I spoke to Jessica a while back about it. Today, my best friend that actually took me on my first investigation in 1999, today marks the 18th year of his passing. So it was real special for Dave and I to be able to do and talk about how our journey started, when mine actually started on the anniversary of the passing of my friend Eric, who actually took me on my first case. So we appreciate that. Wow, the way this started for me, I was just one of those weird kids growing up that always took an interest in the spooky stuff and the ghost stories, and hearing about people seeing apparitions and capturing photos. And it was, like I said, it was just something I always studied from more of a religious standpoint growing up. And as I became older and in my teens, I was able to research it more and learn more about it. And, before the whole phenomena took over with all the TV shows and stuff, the research basically led me to the point where, to go further in my research, I need to start investigating for myself. And that's kind of how it all started. And my very first experience ever, I was taken to a seance, and that was in 1987. But what really sparked it and kicked this into gear was a friend of mine, Larry, who everyone met at the Bash. He came and visited us. We was in Gettysburg on a motorcycle ride, and knowing that the place was haunted and this and that, it was my first time there ever. And I captured two pieces of evidence that coincided with each other, and that's what kicked us into the high gear and got me rolling the way I was.
That's awesome.
my side, basically, I was born October 30th, day before Halloween.
Oh,
I have
boy.
always been into creepy, spooky. The more guts and gore, the better.
By
Chainsaws,
default.
we're there. But in my teens, I started going out with friends into old insane asylums, old tuberculosis centers. Lots of places around Maryland are no longer in use. A place called Hell House. There's one down in Bowie, which used to be a tuberculosis hospital. We jump into these places full steam ahead. Had lots of really wild experiences in them. The spookier, the better. To the point where we were even going into the morgues, into those crypt things that you open up and hiding in them to scare other people. So really having some fun. In 2001, my grandmother and grandfather passed away. And I'm not psychic. I'm not. Sorry. Take as much time as you like. Just hurry up. Sorry. Yeah, he's trying to watch the video, but
No, I'm not. I'm not trying to watch it. It's just I accidentally clicked on it.
So in 2000, my grandfather passed, and in 2001, my grandmother passed. And I'm not psychic. I'm not a medium, but I know that they're here with me. So my now 13-year-old daughter has actually heard my grandfather in my house whistling. So she has that knack. I couldn't hear it. But she actually, there was a very specific song he used to whistle. She repeated it back to me, and it blew my mind. So, several years ago, I met up with Ernie in our karate dojo. And, we became fast friends, So the wife and I went down to New Orleans. And while I was there, I caught a really awesome picture. And you can actually see this guy in a shawl looking out of a mirror at you. Showed it to the owner. The owner verified the picture, showed me other pictures similar. I'm like, blew my mind. The day that we were leaving, I'm laying into bed, and the curtains to my right open up on their own while I'm laying in bed. And I said to my wife, "Why'd you open the curtains?" And she goes, "I didn't." I'm like, okay. So that really kicked it up for me. So I come back, show Ernie this picture. Dude, check this out.
At the time, he didn't know what I did. And,
didn't know. I didn't
know he was interested in it. And
he's like, "I'm going to show you a picture that's going to freak you out." And he's like, he saw it and he goes, "Dude, I'm going to blow your mind. Guess what I do?" I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Paranormal investigation." I'm like, "Uh-uh." So he got me in, and we started rolling from there. And it's been a fun ride.
That's awesome. I can tell you guys are pretty close, and that's something really good to have when you're doing work together, because long hours, stressful situations, things can get hairy. It's always good to have that other guy next to you has your back no matter what.
Amen.
I do have to say, though, when we're on the road, I make him get his own room, so I do need a break from him now and then.
Which one snores?
No, I don't know. I'm always by myself. I'll have to set up a voice recorder one night.
Just so you guys know, Pamela Berry's in the chat along with all kinds of other people.
Hi, Pam. Save my coffee cup, sweetie. I forgot it.
That's right. I did see in your group. Your group page, you said you left it the last time you were up there at the lookout.
The funny thing is, I always stop for coffee along the way, but I was kind of running behind, so I said, you know what? I'm going to use one of these travel mugs, and I'm ready to go nonstop straight through to our location, and I'd be darned if I didn't forget and leave my coffee cup that I never take with me there. So,
Betty Kegley wants to see the picture if it's online.
The one Dave just said?
Yeah, the one with the
coffee cup?
No.
Which one?
Lord have mercy.
Sorry,
he's still hung up on that coffee cup.
Yeah, I let me see if I have it here. If I can find it.
You can just message it to me if you find it. I don't want to make you search for something while I'm trying to interview you, but someone did ask to see it.
All right, if I can get it, I'll get it to you. Let me just kind of sneak through real quick.
Oh, well, while you're doing that, we'll do some shout outs to give you time. You girls want to start shouting these folks out?
I don't know. There's a lot. I have Derek, Schreiner. I have Sandy Griffith. I have Christina. I have Josh. I'm going with first names because the last names I don't want to butcher. Haley.
Haley.
Hi, Haley.
James. Deb. Peggy. Terry. John. Bill. Joe. Heather. Patricia. Pam. Sue. And Andrew just jumped on.
Nice. Thanks for joining us.
We know every one of those fine folks.
On YouTube, Betty, Sam Thomas, and Val is the only one that's the only ones that's interacting right now that I can see.
All right. Well, if you're watching and you want us to shout you out, we will.
I have a question.
Already?
Besides
Betty's, like, where's that photo?
Well, yeah, of course. But yeah, Val wanted to know, what has been the most recent paranormal activity you all have experienced?
Can I start?
I know where he's going. Go ahead.
I'm not trying to like throw a plug to our radio podcast or anything, but a few weeks ago we had a special guest psychic medium on our show, and I've always wondered, my friend I spoke of earlier, if he ever is around me or comes to visit me. So as soon as I started to speak, she knew exactly what I was going to say. And she said, yeah, that he comes to visit me. And she said, do you know how when you come downstairs, like, I'm real OCD with things being out of place. And like, no one could ever break into my house. I would know before I even step into the door. And a lot of times I'll come down in the morning or whenever I get up and I notice things are like turned a little crooked. Now, I never told her this, but she told me that it's my friend. That's his way of letting me know he's there. Well, lo and behold, yesterday, the day prior to the anniversary of Eric's death, I have a little portion of a wall between I have like a country kitchen and a living room. And I have a big knick-knack on that little ledge there. And when I came down from out of bed, it was turned completely sideways. I was the last one to go to bed and the first one to get up because I only slept like 3 hours yesterday. And so, yeah, that's not much, but it's a paranormal experience that happened yesterday in my own house. So, yes.
Yeah, that's significant, I think. I mean, if you're OCD, you're going to notice if there's a hair out of place on your face.
Right,
Yep.
right.
So
I don't have the photo on this phone that I have in front of me. It's actually on my phone that got broken.
Don't worry about it. We will direct people to your page or to send you friend requests.
Page, it's on there, and it's from about 3 years ago.
I think it was 16.
It was 16? 4 years.
3 years.
If
16.
not, Betty, I will send it to you once he posts it so you won't miss it.
I'll get it to you.
Thank you.
So, but yeah, so what it is, that picture is a sun medallion. And we took two pictures side by side in what's called the seance room down in this restaurant. And so you could see actually what's in the entire room. And the mirror's to my right over here. And you can see there's nothing that could have made this at all in the mirror. And I'm looking at it at the dinner table, and the waiter comes over to me and says, "Did you just take that upstairs?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes scurrying off. Well, a couple minutes later, another guy in a really nice suit comes walking over. He goes, "You have a picture?" I'm like, so I showed him. He goes, "Can you come with me?" He takes me to a back room. He asked me to email it to him, which I did, and then shows me an entire room with these pictures all over the restaurant with this guy in a shawl looking out at different people.
No way.
Yep. So that was just beyond awesome. So
yeah, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, and it was completely accidental on the picture, but and you could see clearly. I mean, it looks like almost like a monk robe. And apparently, the guy who used to own the house, 1 was into the occult, 2 was a womanizer, 3 was a gambler, and 4 he was a drunk. So he apparently.
Dave, you're describing a country song.
My bad. So apparently, he was in a poker game, thought he had a good hand. From what the owner was telling me, that was the guy in the nice suit. And he put his house up as the bet and lost. Well, he came home to, quote, move all his stuff out, goes up to his seance room and eats a pistol. So when they moved in as a restaurant, they had a lot of troubles with spiritual activity, and they actually put out 2 glasses of wine and 2 pieces of bread every day to appease the spirits. And he has fast forward video of it coming down, and actually you'll see on one of the videos you showed me, lipstick appeared on the glass. I'm like, yep. So you asked me to sit. That was my very first real capture, completely by accident. Which at that point, it set me in motion.
Hey, if you guys want to see a real quick pic, and you can find it yourself, in 2008, October 20th, 2008, I was in Gettysburg, and we were there. Nothing paranormal. We were there just to spend the evening. It was, a nice crisp night. We were walking around having a coffee. And I seen a building that I wanted to photograph, and I took a couple shots of the building, just to commemorate that I was there. In photo 2, a picture of a woman appeared. She's about 15 feet in front of me. You can tell it's not a person because with a digital camera, if I was to take a picture of someone 15 feet in front of me, you're going to see it's a person. But if you Google Ernie Atwell and go over images, go on images, you're going to see a picture there of like a glowing looking woman. That was Gettysburg, 2008.
We're gonna look that up right now.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool picture.
Steve Berry joined us also.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Stevie.
Pam said no, you're not OCD. She said no.
Now, was this photo taken at night?
Yes.
Okay, I got it. Let's see here. We can
I don't have them handy, but I actually went back the very next day and rephotographed the same area just to show that it wasn't a street pole or a light pole or a tree, but it actually looks like the side profile of a woman walking by me wearing one of them pop dresses, or they call bell dress, and she's got a shawl on and a lace glove.
Okay, for some reason, my display capture is not working, so I'm going to open up another one. Do we have any other questions?
Nope.
Nope?
I do. What is Melissa doing right now?
Me?
Yeah.
Everything. I'm all over the place all the time, so I'm just doing my thing.
Doing your thing.
Life.
For some reason... All right, I guess I'll drag it over here to this screen. Okay. Okay, what? This is the photo here. See if we can enlarge it. Discover ideas about scary ghost pictures. There we go. Here it is. Make this bigger. It kind of looks green.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, that was about 15 feet in front of me. If you enlarge it and zero in like on her head, you can see it's just like squiggly lines. It's no solid mass.
Yeah, it almost looks like there's a dress, but the top of it's glowing.
Yeah.
That's actually,
now,
there's actually something there, yeah.
When I took the photo, the only thing I saw in the viewfinder of the camera was just like a green glow, which, at the time I didn't think much of until we got home and put it on the computer.
Yeah, too bad the lighting wasn't a little bit better, but
yeah,
it's good enough to see that there's definitely something strange looking there.
The thing is, Justin, like I said, that was picture number 2 of 3, and there was nothing coming in the frame or going out of frame. It just, in picture 1, it was nothing. Picture 2, she was there. Picture 3, it was gone.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that's interesting. All right, you've seen the photo. We didn't have any other questions in chat, right?
No.
Okay, well, if you have any more questions, feel free to ask. I have plenty to ask. So when you first got into an organized group, Ernie, did you feel like they were good teachers? Did you feel like they kind of took you in and showed you the ropes, or did you feel like you had to go on your own path because it just wasn't jiving with what you wanted to do?
All of the above. I mean, don't get me wrong. My former group, I haven't spoke. Well, let me rephrase that. 2 of them are actually family. I have spoken to one of them about non-paranormal related family issues. But the rest of the team, I haven't spoke with since I decided to, venture out. Nothing bad happened. I love those folks to death and would be honored to investigate anytime, anywhere with them. It's just, as things progressed and times changed, I just kind of went in a different direction, so to speak. And, it came to the point where, I decided I wanted to go solo. It was before Dave told me that, he would join me and we'd become Paranormal Inc. But I just, I called Dave after about 2 or 3 months of, contemplating it. And I said, this is the thing, I want to try going solo and I'm going to throw my hat in the ring and give it a shot. And one of two things are going to happen. It's either going to work out or I'll never do this again.
And I'm like, I'm going with you.
Yeah.
So you're not going solo.
But it's nothing bad. I have absolutely nothing bad to say about those folks. I love them to death. I miss them. But it's just, we were going in different directions.
Right. So now's when I bring up your day job. How does your day job help you investigate the paranormal?
Well, for those that don't know this side of me, I just started my 23rd year as a cop. And, with being a police, especially 2 different police departments I've been with and for such a long time, when you show up on a crime scene, you have to come up with answers. And, to solve a crime, to make an arrest or anything like that, it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. You have to come up with evidence, and it's the same in the paranormal world. And, it kind of goes hand in hand. When my night's off, I'm chasing spirit, and on the nights at work, I'm chasing bad guys. So
with spirit.
Yeah. Only thing, it just seems that sometimes the spirits are easier to catch.
Some of them drink too much spirits.
Lynn Meyer put a link to that picture in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Also, so.
I noticed that.
Nice.
So I have to ask, has anything paranormal happened on the job?
Yes, it has.
Yes.
It's funny because those of you that know Mike King from Ghosts of Shepherdstown, he's also a cop. And we have 2 similar stories that we told each other that occurred before we even knew each other. I've had actually that I can remember about 3 occurrences. But one in particular, well, they all stand out in my brain, but for about a decade, I was in the K9 unit. And one night I was working part-time. I was sitting outside Popeyes in my K9 truck with my K9 dog, making sure nobody goes in and steals chicken or robs the place. So the officers working the street that night got a call for a burglary in progress. This was about 1:30 in the morning. And basically what happens is the protocol is when you have an in progress call like that, the patrolmen set a perimeter around the residence, get everyone out, and wait for K9 to show up. Well, unfortunately, there was no K9 close, so when they radioed on the air, they asked if there were any, dogs in the area. I answered up. So I was only about 2 miles away. So when I arrive at the residence, I see the family, they're getting the family outside, and I went up to what I thought was the mom, but it was actually a daughter. And I asked her, what did you hear or see? And her response was, nothing this time. Well, that automatically threw up a red flag. So I seen mom, who was hysterical, and she told me that the second level of their house, they have hardwood floors, and she and her husband were in bed, and she heard someone walking across the hardwood floor as if they were coming from the littlest child's room to the parents' room. And at that point, she called 911 and, said someone's in my house. Now, when we train our dogs, the way we train them is we get to the threshold of whatever the entry point is, and we make an announcement. We let them, we yell in who we are, what we're going to do, what our dog's going to do, basically give yourself up. So after a few announcements, I cut my dog loose. Now, normally what happens is the dog either will break left or right. We clear the level we're on, and then we'll either move up a level or down a level. Well, as soon as I cut my dog loose and gave the command to go search, he immediately ran straight up the steps, which alerted me to he was on a hot scent, that someone was up there. So he goes up and does his search, and there's no one there. Now, I bring him down to the main level I'm on. We clear that. There's no one there. And we go to the basement. Now, the basement kind of looked like a little bit of a hoarding area. It was tons of boxes and containers and all that stuff. And this was my second canine dog while in the unit. So he was fairly new to the team. So while he's down there playing around and searching, I said, I'm going to let him, have a good time. And I'm going to go up and recheck everything and make sure we didn't miss anything. So I'm standing on the in the dining room, leaning on the table, just looking around, and directly above my head, I hear what sounds like a set of like cowboy boots going across the hardwood floor. It was so loud that my dog heard it in the basement. He come running up past me, brushed up against me to where he put me into the table and ran back upstairs. So I called in for backup and said, hey, I have someone up there. And once again, when we went up, there was absolutely no one up there. And, the sad thing is the family, the mom, she was so scared, but I had to give her some kind of I had to give her an answer. And, I basically told them that, when the sun comes up, go up in the attic and check and, make sure there's no rodents or critters up there. And even being the way to the attic was through one of the children's closets. And in checking that closet, everything was so neatly stacked, there was no way anyone could have got up there without disturbing anything. So that was just one story, but that's one that sticks out. And like I was saying, Mike King had a very, very similar experience with a business with something setting off the motion detector inside.
Would you say that footsteps are the most common phenomena that is reported or experienced in the paranormal?
That's kind of a tough one.
In the paranormal, no, but when you hit residential houses, probably that's one of the most common 911 call with somebody in your house. I was on a call very similar that the owner had left the house and he came home, all the lights are on. So he calls us going, hey, I left all these lights out. I don't know why they're on. So while we're investigating, my partner and I went through cleared the downstairs, cleared the upstairs. And then as we're sitting there talking to the homeowner, you can hear the footsteps coming across. So we both went running upstairs. He broke right, I broke left. There was nothing up there. And things like that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Ernie, Betty wanted to know if the dog barked or anything.
Well, no, because we have it's the way we trained them was certain alerts, and the dog isn't going to bark till he gets to the source. You understand what I'm saying? There's several ways of training them on the alert, but basically what we watched for was the body movement. But in this, for instance, it was just the fact that he heard it and knew what to do, ran up past me, went, to the top level of the house, and I could hear him running back and forth like, where's he at? Where's he at? To where I actually had to call him back once I got up there. But no, they won't give that alert signal till they've located the source, and that's dealing with a bad guy or drugs or whatever the case may be.
That's interesting. That's helpful too, because the last thing you want is a dog barking, going crazy when you can't see what's going on.
Right.
Yeah. In my experience, footsteps is the most common. What do you think is the most common thing that you find happening that people report that you experience? What do you think the most common thing is that's unexplained that you commonly or normally investigate?
We've got a lot of. We've got things like things that move without people around. Like we've had people tell us, "Look, I set these keys on this table. I turned around to go give a glass of water, and now they're over on the couch."
Yeah, we've gotten that a lot.
Yeah, things that move. They hear voices. They hear just bumps in the night. They can't explain some of the things that are going on. Why lights are coming on and off.
We get a lot of dealing with residential cases or commercial cases that we get called into. We get a lot of I've seen a shadow or I've seen something go by, along those lines.
Now, being cops, one a cop now, one an ex-cop. Do people find that comforting, or do you advertise that at all when you go and investigate their homes?
No, not at all. Like I said, we were on the seminar circuit for about a year before people even knew. It's just something I don't talk about. I mean, not that it's just. I guess I've been doing it so long that it's just what I do. I don't,
Well,
if you actually look at, we have 3 logos we use. One of them actually is a police badge that says Paranormal Investigator. And if you actually look at our name, PI, Paranormal Inc., it's, that's how we came up with the name because of what we do and what we did.
Right. I would imagine some people would find it comforting. Some people wouldn't. Right.
Yeah.
Somebody, I don't want cops in my house. I'm going to get paranoid or whatever. But I always found it that if you're going to have someone investigate your home and you want to know what the heck's going on, a cop's probably one of the best people. Anybody like a cop, a firefighter, EMT guy, anybody that has connections with law enforcement or the computer systems to do background checks or do lab checks or anything like that. They know people.
Dave always teases me because, like a perfect example, we were getting ready to do a public investigation one night at a venue, and we were going through and setting up cameras and doing a preliminary sweep. Well, at that point, we actually heard a knock, 2 knocks in the other room, and Dave saw a shadow, and it was still daylight, and so Dave's, he's telling me what he's seeing or experiencing, and it's just, I wanted to peek around the wall, but, it's just instinct to do that kind of like bend down and, and he's like, oh, he's in cop mode, but it's just a habit of, the way I look around a corner because I've been doing it so long.
Right. That's interesting.
I have a question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Have you ever seen a canine refuse to go into a building?
Yeah. My very first dog, Diesel. Now, like I was saying earlier before we went on the air, that there's something in my house. It's nothing malicious. It's nothing scary, but it's just something that every 2 or 3 months does something small to let me know it's there. And one night, I was sitting on the sofa, and my dog Diesel went to my steps, and it was like he heard something. He had that full body movement, the ears back, his body stiffened up, and he ran upstairs like he was going after someone. He was up there for maybe 20 seconds. I don't know what he saw or what he heard. He come running down the steps, jumped on top of me on the sofa, and was trying to jump over the back and hide behind the sofa. So I wasn't sure what was going on. So I kind of put him in work mode, brought him back to the steps and was going to send him up, and he would not go. And if you knew my dog Diesel, that was one thing he had was no fear. I mean, he didn't fear because when we train them in dark, we train them in hot, cold, we train them in water, everything. And so, yeah, to answer her question, it actually happened in my own house.
That's probably the last place you want that to happen, I guess.
Yeah.
I was actually in Haldeman Mansion, and I was setting up for one of our seminars. And I'm not paying attention to anything other than getting the camera set up, the projector, the laptop. And Laura's dog kept barking, and he was just sitting there barking at a window that looked in steps that went up into the grand stairway. And I kept telling the dog, "Shut up, shut up." And finally, I looked over like, "What?" And I looked out the window, and I saw this big black mist go right up the stairway. And as it went around the corner, the dog turned and looked at me like, "I was trying to tell you, idiot." The look this dog gave me was just like.
Well, see, that's one thing we were always told when I was in K-9 unit. Always trust your dog. Serious? No, I'm being serious. Like, always trust your dog. Yeah, and I've actually caught people that way, even though I said to myself, there's no way he's here or went that way. I trusted my dog, and I'd be darned if every time he was smarter than I was.
Yeah. That's probably the really good advice. Did we have a question on YouTube?
Yes. Val wanted to know, what is the most common thing that you can debunk on any investigation, whether it's residential or any place else?
Most common thing that we can't debunk.
No, you can debunk.
Oh, that we can. Probably shadows.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so, yeah, I mean, it really depends, but shadows a lot of time. What do you think, Dave?
It's pictures of orbs.
Yeah, I'm not a big orb fan.
I'm not an orb fan, and I apologize to anybody who is, but a picture showing a little round dot does not mean you've caught an orb.
Right.
If you have a flight path that you can actually visibly see, if you see the energy in it, you can tell the difference between dust and a big energy ball.
If you go on our YouTube channel, we have a brief video of a residential case we were on, and it's a perfect example of what Dave's talking about. I was in the basement, and you can see the steady flow of dust going just like this.
Yep.
And while the steady flow of dust is going, the orb comes in.
Upper right, comes down, literally hovers at Ernie, stops for a second, goes to the right, makes a little J turn, goes right more, then comes out bottom right.
Yeah, and it completely out of the flow pattern of the dust.
Yep. So, and I may actually have a picture here on my phone of, we could actually visibly see this with our eye, of an orb that'll just really blow your mind. I actually think I have that one on my phone.
The only time I've ever seen orbs that I knew weren't dust was actually with my eyes.
Right.
Anything on photograph, I'll just look at the EXIF data or the metadata, and I will see if the flash fired, and see if, it's lit up dust. Yeah.
Can you see the bottom left of that picture? There, you can see actually a piece of dust.
Right.
But look at the center. That's the orb.
Okay.
So now the original picture, you can actually, that's a blown up version of it. But let me see if I have the original where I can get to it real quick. You could physically see this with your eye moving. And that's why we popped a picture of it. And
it's not until you actually see it with your own eyes until it blows your mind then.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and we're like, what is that? And you can tell the original picture, you can actually see in the upper part, there's a bug. In the lower left, there's dust, and dead center, there's this orb.
Sandy Griffin, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Sandy Griffin asked about your YouTube channel. Do you have one?
Yes, absolutely. If you go to www.paranormalinc.net, there's a link right at the top to it.
And also feel free, we have, for those on your side that don't know us, on Facebook, we have a separate Paranormal Inc. page. It's not just all about us. It's any up-and-coming events. You guys feel free to post or advertise anything.
And there's a link to that,
Only thing I asked is just keep it classy. People post jokes and funny stuff. It's whatever, but there's a lot of, younger people that follow us and watch the page. Yeah. So just,
keep it clean.
Keep it classy. Keep it clean.
Do you guys catch yourselves debunking a lot more than giving getting, so-called evidence.
Always.
Yes.
First thing you do is debunk.
I say 85% of.
Here's the original photo. Found it.
I say 85% of claims we can debunk. And I tell you, Justin, you all can probably vouch for this. You catch this case where, all right, the client, is kind of clueless with the paranormal or whatever, and it's our job to show up and do a thorough investigation regardless.
Yep.
And I find that the cases we show up on where we just expect it to be absolutely nothing is the ones that totally blow our minds. And a good example of that is we were contacted by, and this was right in our neighborhood. We were contacted by a dealership.
Car dealership. Actually, a truck dealership.
Yeah. And it's something that I pass twice a day.
I pass it usually once or twice a day myself.
Every day. And we've lived here for years and years and years. So we called, Mike King called me and was like, hey, you guys got any upcoming cases? We're like, yeah, we're going on one Friday. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to come up and go with you. And I even warned him. I said, Mike, this is in our neighborhood. I've never heard anything about this place.
We actually started joking that maybe somebody saw the price of one of the trucks and got sticker shock and went, ah! We were joking about it.
We got there, while it was still daylight. And I mean, soon as we stepped foot in that place, it came to life. And before we could even get any equipment set up, it just started jumping off.
You're hearing things walking. You're hearing voices.
And it was just one of those things that, I told Mike, I'm like, don't expect much, but we'll have fun, Yeah. And to date, this is one of the most haunted places we've ever been. Yeah.
What's interesting is the businesses don't really have a reason to advertise a haunting or spirits or whatever.
Right.
And when they do, it's got to be like either disturbing them or freaking them out.
Yeah, well, that's an excellent point. Yeah, because I don't remember the exact claims, but people were kind of bugged out when they'd come in the morning and open up, to start work. So, but yeah, I mean, it totally caught us off guard.
I mean, we were even upstairs, and we have a DVR camera pointing down a long aisleway, and we got somebody that radioed up. Hey, Dave, who's at the end of that aisle on camera 1? And I'm like, nobody. We're all right here. She's like, there's somebody moving around because we get a little Running Man, visual. So I look down, and it's still dark, and you could actually see the shadow walking around up there.
Mm-hmm.
And you could hear the footsteps.
Mm-hmm.
And then you pop on a light, it's empty.
Now and the area he's talking about was like a
parts department.
Yeah, it was a parts department, so it wasn't windows, and it was just sealed in like a bunker.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was wild. I actually wanted to take a break, so I sat at the monitors, and Mike King went back to investigate back where they work on the vehicles at. Just as I was ready I grabbed the radio to tell him, hey, Mike, I got a shadow. We're like right behind you. He radios in and says, pay attention to the audio. I got footsteps behind me. And it completely lined up.
I actually have an EVP from that night. It was Laura, Shari, myself, several other people up in the parts department. So we were running a spirit box, and you'll actually hear Laura on this, and I have explicit permission to use this. I was up there with them. This is right after the walking. Let me see if I can get to it. But you can actually hear 4 specific things in this audio, if I can find it. I just had it in a second. There it is. Let me turn up my volume. All right, play.
I lost the recording. Okay, I know there's somebody up here with us right now. Can you please tell us your name? I just heard a voice say leave. Said leave. Do you want us to leave? Say leave again. Leave again.
So turn around. Very first thing you heard, we didn't know at the time, but the name that come across was Archie.
Right. It sounded like Archie or RC, one of the two.
Right.
And that's what we were looking at.
But who was Archie? Was the employee that?
Yeah, the employee that got squished.
Yeah, one of the trucks fell on him.
Yeah,
and he was killed.
He was underneath working on a truck, and the boom lift came off, and it squished him.
Yeah,
So,
that's interesting.
Yeah, so if you listen to the EVP, you hear four things on it. You hear, she asked, are you here? Tell us, and he goes, you hear Archie, leave. And it's a Hispanic voice. Then in the same voice, a couple seconds later, she goes, if you want us to leave, say leave again. It goes, turn around, leave.
Definitely heard those things. Before I forget, there was at least 3 people that I've seen that already have subscribed to your YouTube channel, so they'll be checking it out.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you. Love you. So, yeah, so that we were joking about it, and we got just a ton of evidence by there. Loving it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's definitely cool. Do we have any other questions in the chat?
I'm clear on YouTube.
I'm clear on Facebook.
All right. Well, there's definitely a lot. They're definitely chatting it up in the chat room. They just.
I'm sorry. Val
Go
wants
ahead.
to know, was that a spirit box?
That's what did she have?
I think it was SB7.
It was either SB7 or an SB11, one of the two.
Yeah, it sounded like a spirit box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of tools of the trade, what are your go-to tools? What do you use to investigate other than cameras and audio recorders?
I'm going to take the first on this because he's the tech guy, so I'm sure he'll be more lengthy. My personal preference, I like using things that have a primary function other than, hey, look at this gadget I built to find ghosts. I like digital cameras. I like voice recorders and any sort of, EMF detectors or, like thermal cameras, FLIR cameras, things that have a primary use that you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, you know what they're doing. You're looking for
exactly
surface temps, whatever.
Right. I like my favorite. I love taking pictures. I like taking pictures, and I love EVP work. I like to keep it old school. I mean, we have all the, the gadgets and gadgets and up with the times. But if I had to, I like old school. Definitely old school. Even, if you want to investigate and use the old homemade tricks to try to capture evidence, I like that better.
Yep.
But I like keeping it old school.
So being a network engineer by trade, being a techno geek, I love technology. So my first go-to is going to be your Mel meter, and mine has REM, thermal, everything on. Mine has all the bells and whistles. It has temperature, thermal up, thermal down. So that's my personal. I love walking around with. My second thing I love going around with is my K2, because the K2 is designed specifically for electrical leaks. So if you take a K2 to a back of a phone or to a back of a TV set or to even a light bulb, you can actually see it make a difference. But if you put it on a table in a place where there's absolutely no electricity and it's going off, something's going on. We have a video up on our YouTube channel, courtesy of Miss Dreama Weber, Mike's wife. She's holding my K2. We have a couple REM pods down and around. We're up in the attic at Haldeman Mansion with 20 people in the attic. So this K2 is literally pegging the whole time. There's no electric around us. We started communicating, and we were actually getting direct responses using a REM pod. When we were answering yes/no questions and we'd get it right, the REM pod would ring. The video is about 17 minutes. During the process, with 20 people in an attic, logistically, the temperature should go up. We actually took a thermal reading to start with. It was 53.2 I think it was, and it went down to 31.1. And you could actually see your breath coming out of your mouth while we're doing the investigation with 20 people in the room. So the whole thing goes by, and at the very end of the video, you're going to hear in the background, "It just left." That's Mike King, who, is standing by a doorway outside of the range. He felt it go by him. At that point, the temperature went back up to 53.2.
And it was the same exact moment that all the gadgets
stopped.
Yeah, stopped going.
Interesting. So the flip opposite of that question would be what Val asked. Did you want to read her question?
Absolutely. She wanted to know, what type of equipment would you never use and why?
One of the things I don't use is the dowsing rods. I don't have anything against them or the people that use them, but I just feel they're very easily manipulated. Not saying you want to intentionally manipulate them, but I had someone kind of train me on them. I won't put his name out there, but a well-known guy. He kind of trained me on them and showed me and explained everything about them. Now, the only way I would use them is if you had, like, say, a mount and you could set them on a steady surface. Yeah, but I don't use them. And just out of, what do you call that when you have what do you call that when you have you don't step on the crack on the ground or you don't walk up?
Superstition.
A superstition. I wouldn't use a Ouija board.
No. My specific is the SLS cameras. The reason why is I've actually pulled down the code and looked at the program. There's a flaw in the way they're designed. If you're walking along, they are designed specifically in their code to make a stick figure. Okay?
Out of physical objects.
Right, out of physical objects. So if you come across a line in a wall and it is close enough to like a far back like hallway or something like that, it can misidentify. Whereas if you put it on a tripod and let it go, and if something comes up at that point, then yes, it could be potentially correct.
I mean, we're saying they're legit. They work.
They work, but there's a flaw in them.
Right. So when you do capture something, reviewing evidence, you're kind of just making more work for yourself because
were you moving?
What
did you see?
Yeah, you have this figure detected, but shoot, let's go back and look at this now to make sure that what it was detecting was really what it was detecting. So
perfect example of legit. They were one of the shows. One of the teams were in a old hospital, and they had it focused on a hospital bed on a tripod. They had a mannequin patient there, and they were talking about, hey, we're going to do an operation on this patient. Well, all of a sudden, it appeared stick figure and like working in the abdomen of a patient. That's absolutely legit. But if you have it on a sidewall and you might get a little up here in the corner, like jumping up and down, and then if you turn just slightly, it disappears. That might be the bug in the flaw in the software.
All right.
Do you want me to ask my question before we take our break?
Yeah, but real quick, there's a lot of flaws with the SLS. I actually did a full review, and then someone actually sent me their unit. I also noticed, especially when you hand hold them, it's bad, very, very bad. It measures the depth, and every time that I noticed that there was a very high contrast in the depth, it would put a stick figure there.
Yes,
it wouldn't even have to be anything there.
Yep.
So I just wanted to, I'm definitely with you. Go ahead and ask the question, and we'll have them answer, and then we'll take a break.
Do you think investigations are easier or more complicated when you work with sensitive psychic mediums?
I mean, I don't mind working with them.
No, I don't mind either.
Yeah, I really don't mind working with them. When we go into a case, of course, we're going to hear your claims, but we don't want too much more information about it. a perfect example is like if you watch Dead Files, how they do their separate investigations and then see how it matches up.
And I love A.B.
Yeah,
Allen.
so when you work with a psychic medium, if you do it properly, I mean, it just validates. Off camera earlier, we were talking about what we called our demon house case. And, we got the claims of activity, but we didn't get personal. So a piece of the evidence that we actually caught on a spirit box was a first and last name, which is kind of, I don't want to say unheard of, but it doesn't happen all the time. And that name actually wound up being the former owner of the house.
And the current owner.
Yeah, and we had no idea of that, so. But no, I like working with psychic mediums or sensitives, if we have the opportunity or if the case calls for it. And, if you do it right, you can really validate what you come up with.
All right, that's a pretty good question. Obviously, we work with psychics all the time, and we go through rigorous protocol to keep them in the dark, to see what they can come up with, see if we can correlate what they come up with what the reports are, what we experience. Sometimes Missy will hear something that no one else hears, but we capture on a device. It's really interesting to actually investigate your investigators while you're investigating a location.
Absolutely.
It's really, really cool. But we're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. We're going to show some promos of some films we have, Deadlight, some other stuff from our other affiliates. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back 5, 6, 7 minutes. When everybody gets back in their seat and says they're ready, we'll go ahead and finish the rest of the show is what I'm trying to say. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back. Do you have that drive? That morbid curiosity to explore the darkness? Do you have what it takes to brave the night? You do? Good. Deadlight. For those who aren't afraid to see what lurks in the night.
I'd like to see you. What the fuck was that?
On Saturday, November 30th, take your journey into the supernatural into one of Ohio's most wicked jails. Built in 1889, the old Licking County Jail was home to its fair share of dangerous inmates, leading to 14 inmate deaths as well as 4 sheriffs. These violent deaths inevitably led to the closure of the jail in 1987. Join us for a night of history and an overnight ghost hunt you'll never forget. Your journey awaits.
something that I picked up prior on the photos that I've seen. I keep seeing a badge. It feels like some kind of tightness in the chest. So it feels like he possibly could have passed away from heart or lung issues. But I don't know if he was an officer here or some kind of badge. I'm trying to figure out how to explain it, and it's just so overwhelming. It's just a lot of.
Whoa. My camera just stopped. I just got a complete shutdown of my equipment.
My main story when I first started here, that's where I saw the mass, was in the basement doorway.
Showers in prisons feel weird. More happened in there than people getting clean.
Doesn't matter what floor you're on, what room you're in, you can get interaction. This is one of the most haunted locations that I've been to.
Just walk out of your cell. I'd like to see you. What the fuck was that?
This is Jason Bland, host of Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we stream live as a webcast every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, with guests who will blow your mind. Live ghost box sessions where you can call into the show to see if the spirits will talk to you, and the world wide web of weird with the latest in paranormal news and evidence. We're bringing the weird every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.
You're in time.
All right, and we are back. Welcome back, and thanks for staying put right where you are. We are going to finish the rest half of this show. We have Ernie and David of Paranormal Incorporated with us tonight. We have been talking about all kinds of interesting things, and David's still trying to find that photo because he's not going to stop until he finds it.
He's not going to sleep until he finds it.
It's driving me nuts, and I actually just found it. So let me find you on Messenger.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Let me go copy this out.
Which photo is this? The one that he was in New Orleans?
Yes, in New Orleans, in the seance room. That way I can find it real quick.
Hey, Steve. I see you there, buddy. Thanks for joining us.
Mr. Steve Hummel.
All right. Well, while you're sending me that, we'll catch everybody up. We're pretty much, we left off with them talking about what, pieces of equipment they like to use, what they don't like to use. I definitely have some things to say also. The dowsing rods are interesting because you got the idiomotor effect in play. You don't know you're moving them, but you're moving them. Same thing with the Ouija board planchette deal. So subconsciously, if you're asking a question, you want it to do something. You're trying not to, but you can't stop yourself. There was this interesting article that I read where there's a scientific study on the dowsing rods, and they proposed, based on their scientific result, was that people who had sensitivity to magnetic fields would feel the perturbations of the magnetic field that the water created underneath them. They felt that, and that subconsciously told them to move the rods.
Right.
They actually found evidence of that. So and I like the jig that you suggested to put them in. I do like that idea to see if they can be manipulated. But also there's experiments where you just blindfold people and do experiments that way so they have no idea what's going on. But if they feel some change physiologically in the environment, they should still be able to move them.
And see, my thing is with it, like we're talking about equipment that has a primary function. And originally, the dowsing rods was used to find different minerals and stuff in the earth.
And water.
So in using them, I mean, sure, they can detect spirit, but how do you know that's what you're detecting?
Right.
You
don't know.
You understand? If I'm out there investigating your land, how do I know what at least if you catch an EVP, it's kind of hard to rule that out if we're the only ones in the room and we hear a lady or whatever, the case may be.
That's a very good point.
I did send you that picture.
Yeah, I've got it up right now.
Look at the mirror on the right, and if you blow it up, you'll see it.
Okay, let me move it over here, and I'll turn on my screen capture here. See if I can get to it. Hold on. Scenes, sources, display capture. Okay, so we're looking at it. What do we explain what we're looking at here, Dave?
All right, so this is a seance room in a restaurant down in New Orleans. So I have 3 total pictures of the room that all kind of connect together. So you can see the entire room. So the mirror on the right is where I went, what is that in the mirror? And if you look and try to line it up with anything in that room, there's nothing in that room that could have done that.
Oops. I tried to blow it up, but it did not go as planned. So I'm going to leave it at 100%. Sorry, folks. But he's wanting us to draw our attention here. And there's like a pinkish magenta-like colored.
Right. So if you look, you'll see something leaning like this. And you can tell there's a shawl on it. You'll see his face. And it looks like he's looking around a corner.
Okay, so it's kind of hard to see on our screen. I'm guessing you have to blow it up. I really can't blow it up. If I download it, I think I can blow it up. Let me try to do that for you folks, and we'll go back to our main screen here. I'll download it and see if I can blow it up to get a better look at it so everybody can see it, because I'm definitely interested in seeing it a little better. I seriously doubt we have any questions in chat, but if we do, now would be a good time to ask.
Steve Hummel said, that makes sense. You were talking about the dowsing rods. He said, what if the dowsing rods are in handles, not in direct contact with the handler? I'm not a big fan of them, but just curious.
Yeah, you could still move them.
Right.
Any movement of your hand, whether they're in a handle or not, can make them lean.
Right.
And I'm sure you'll agree with me, Justin. Everybody has their own flavor of doing things and, favor one piece of equipment over the other. By no means are we downgrading using anything. It's just, I just have my preferences and I don't want to make more work for myself. So
I've used them and to me, they're too easily manipulated. Yeah. If you have to touch it to make it work, then to me, there's something wrong with that. If you could set them down, take your hands off, like old school. If you're looking for drafts and if you're looking for spirits, you could set up 4 lit candles and ask them, can you manipulate the flame on flame 3 and you'll watch it flicker. You're not touching anything there.
Okay. We're going to blow this up. I got the picture up now.
Awesome.
Okay, that's definitely easier to see. And you're was explaining a hooded figure.
Yes. So if you look in there, he's leaning towards the left, like almost around something.
Okay. When I zoom in, it's kind of pixelated. But here, let me see if I can zoom out just a little bit.
Steve Hummel said, in regards to the mirror, was the surface completely clean of smearing or smudging?
It doesn't look like it.
Could the light be bouncing off of the surface?
The way because the room is a big room from left to right, and it's a long room, and they're all in pink and things like that. So when I took the photos, I went photo 1, photo 2, photo 3. The light source you could actually see the light source in the picture, which is a lamp over here. So the mirror is to my right, and again, I wasn't even trying for it, but you could actually see it. I'm looking in the picture when I'm looking through it going, what is that? And which is where the waiter comes in and started telling me, wait, he goes scurrying off. And then apparently the manager, owner, whoever he was, I think he's the manager, comes over. And then he took me into another room showing me multiple images. So at that point, that was confirmation to me.
Yeah, there seems to be curtains there that's off camera frame that you can't see that it's reflecting. And what I see is this right in here is a magenta. It's almost like it's an infrared light source if it is light. Now, you were using a regular camera?
That was my phone.
Okay.
That was, friends in a restaurant just taking pictures of a cool place. It wasn't any kind of paranormal investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And that curtain you're seeing is not there in the room. So the thing is looking behind a curtain.
Oh, okay. So there's no curtain in the room?
No, you can blow the picture down. There's nothing in there.
Okay, that's making more sense to me now. I am seeing it. That curtain is what you're seeing is the hood, and the face is right here.
Right.
Actually, that looks like freaking Skeletor, bro, to be honest.
Yeah, you see the picture now. You got it.
Okay. Yeah, that looks more interesting to me now.
Val wanted to know, did you guys feel dizzy when you took the photo?
No, I didn't even know. I mean, I just click. Don, let's go to dinner. I'm hungry. Hey, these are beautiful.
He wrote off the dizziness to his hunger.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous room.
I can show you the other two pictures that go along with it, but our friends are in it, so I didn't want to share those. Sure. But it's literally a long, beautiful room, and they call it the seance room. And it's very, very regal. It's beautiful.
Do you have a photo of where the other side of the room?
Yes. So the family friends are in it. That's why I didn't share them.
Okay.
But yes. But
I would black their face out and put that up because that would prove that there was nothing there that looks like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's two other pictures that go with it, but yes, let me see if I can get to those real quick.
Because if you can demonstrate that, then that would be really compelling to me.
Yeah, give me a moment. Let me get back to Facebook.
I'm putting him to work, ladies and gentlemen.
Do you want me to ask my questions while he's doing that?
Go ahead.
How often do you guys use the flashlights? So you use them for residential more?
I use the flashlights a lot for our both our residential and our public investigations. But the one thing is, a lot of people have debunked them, which I fully understand. So I actually got a gizmo called a yes/no box. I love my yes/no box because you don't have to touch it to make it work. Let me hang on for a second. So I'm multitasking. You can hover over it to make it work. Let me copy these. So I'm walking and chewing gum at the same time. Sorry. So paste there. But so on a regular basis, I do use the flashlights. A lot of the places I found that spirits can manipulate them easier for some reason. All right, let me get to here and just there you go. No, don't post that. All right, so there you are. And then
okay, you believe strongly in the paranormal, but do you believe also in extraterrestrials? And if so, have you had an experience?
Did Haley send that?
Yes, sir.
How did I know that?
Yeah. Hi, Haley.
You must be a cop or something.
Personally, I do believe in extraterrestrials. I have seen some weird stuff in the skies. I've never met an extraterrestrial in my life. I would love to meet one. But the way I think of it is, and I just sent you those other two pictures.
Got him.
If you could blur those two people out, please. But first of all, the universe is extensively large. So it would be a complete waste of space that if there weren't people either smarter or dumber than us throughout the universe. Can some of them go interstellar transportation? Most likely. Yeah, we're just, and bless you, by the way. We're basically in the Stone Age when it comes to how long we've been around. So there are people who've probably been around billions of years somewhere else.
I can make it nice and simple. I did see something in the sky that's unexplainable in 1987, or either 87 or 89. That was a rough portion of my early years. And the thing is, what I saw, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people saw. I believe Haley actually, probably 2 decades later, saw the same thing. And on various shows showing various timelines, the same thing has been seen around the world. So And what we saw to this day still hasn't really been debunked or explained yet. So as far as the UFO world, that's about it for me. I had one experience.
Yeah, I'm going to have to open up editing software to blur out the faces, so you're going to have to give me a moment for that. Did you have any other questions?
I have one on YouTube.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. Val wanted to know, have you ever investigated Native American residential homes?
Yes.
Yes. The Haldeman Mansion is actually, there's 3 known tribes that have lived there. There's actually an Indian burial ground on the back end that's actually cordoned off as a burial ground, and you're not allowed to investigate it on anymore. We've actually been inside the summer kitchen looking out back, and you can see shadows dancing in the field where it is.
I actually caught a residential case that was involving what we narrowed down to be unsettled Native American spirits, to where we actually had to have people that's experienced in it go out and do a ceremony to help the spirits out as well as the client. So yeah, we come across that quite often.
What is your favorite location so far?
Oh my goodness.
There's about 3 of them, but favorite.
Honestly, how about if I give 2?
Okay.
Is that good? Where we were at the other night for World's Largest Ghost Hunt, Steve and Pam Barry's Lookout House.
The Lookout House has some
love
awesome
the Lookout House. And this is totally going to catch you off guard, but Tony DeVille, you know, the Ink Master himself, we investigated his shop 2 weeks ago, and it was a brief, intense, like 90-minute investigation, and it was the first time ever for the full 90 minutes there was no lapse in activity.
Yep.
It was from beginning to start. Yep.
Yeah, Tony was telling me, I've had past 2 years being at Gettysburg, I've had tattoos done by him and his wife, and he was telling my boyfriend, Josh, that we all need to go down there. There's a lot of stuff that happens.
You know what? If you ever do, let me know. We'll meet you there. Yep. We're scheduled to investigate it again.
Yep.
We're going to have him on our show. But it was insane. We did like I said, it was a very brief but intense investigation. Yep. And his family was there.
His entire family.
They wanted answers. Sure. And we were coming up with evidence that Dave and I, we knew nothing about, anything.
We were getting names, we were getting answers, and
it was incredible. Yeah. And it was on Friday the 13th.
Yep. Show you tattoo.
Oh yeah. Thank you, Tony. He gave us
that way. Go in more.
Yeah, our 13 tattoo.
Yep. So I got one on my back.
Yeah, Steve Hummel just commented on Facebook and said, if you want Indian burial grounds, come to Moundsville, West Virginia.
Val said she wanted to see if they experience shadows as she has at the reservations of native land. Val lives in New Mexico.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
The case I was on at the residence, the lady was really concerned because she didn't feel that it was anything demonic, but she knew that it was something that wasn't happy. And we were actually not only on film and photos, but we were actually seeing shadows. And at one point, it didn't look like a Native American, but she had like a sunroom or some sort of den. And I took a digital picture into that room, and there's no one in the room. However, if you look at the mirror that was on the wall, you can see like a lazy boy chair that was in the den. There's actually someone sitting in the chair, and it was really, really amazing. But yeah, I mean, we've gotten, as far as the Native American side of it, it does seem to be a lot of shadows that go along with those type of haunts. Yeah.
I have those photos to compare. I will bring them up, and I do have some feedback on them, which is interesting. We pop this up now. if you refer to this photo again, top right, you see some curtains, and then you see some purplish light right there. So if you go to the next pic, you see what's on the other side, according to Dave, and there is a curtain here, and there is a pink lamp, a purplish lamp there. So that's the only thing I see there that could potentially create that image in the mirror.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Fair enough.
But the one thing against that is the curtain appears to be different looking in the photo. It looks in the photo you showed me, it's like a deep purple, almost like a red curtain.
Right.
Almost like a dark maroon. But in this other photo, whoops, that's Derek. Sorry, Derek. In this photo,
hi, Derek.
It's got a floral design. So that's the only thing that doesn't match what the mirror shows. So I just wanted to throw that out there, but I wanted to give...
No, I appreciate the feedback, and I welcome any and all feedback. I've really tried to debunk this photo. And because remember, I wasn't into the paranormal when I took this. And since I have, I've gone back to it several times to all these photos and tried to debunk them. I can't.
Yeah.
And I'm really trying to debunk myself.
The only way to prove that what you saw was anomalous is to stand in the exact spot with the same lighting, take the photo again.
I agree.
We got to take a trip to New Orleans.
Let's
I've
go.
never been there.
Rock and roll, brother.
But there you go. We just did a little bit of paranormal investigation on the show tonight.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, people like to see the photos that you talk about, and they like to see kind of the process. Yeah, it's cool. I always like to try it because a lot of shows people talk about things and they can't show the things, and I'm able to show videos, show pictures, black people's faces out, so we can't.
Well, one perfect example is about debunking, and I need to make sure people understand this. You may think something's paranormal, but it's not. Perfect example is Ernie was actually at one of our venues and was walking along doing a Facebook Live. So he's looking this way talking. Well, we saw what looked like a white shadow kind of paralleling him in the background.
Which we didn't see. Someone
called it out to us.
Someone was watching the video that was coming to our seminar. And she brought it up in the seminar, hey, rewatch that video. There's something in the background. So we were completely unaware at the time.
We were completely unaware. So, and I'm looking at it going, Ernie, you were on this side of the building and doing this, and we're trying to break it down. And it's like, there's woods there. What the heck is that? Well, it turned out we actually posted up saying, help us out here. Something's not adding up because there's woods there. By the way he's looking, the water's this way, the building's this way. And the person actually said, you're on Facebook Live, flip the image, then what do you think it is? So we actually did that. I took a screenshot, flipped it, and realized he was on the opposite side of the building that I thought he was. So instead of the water being this way, it was this way. It was a barn behind him with a rafter that looked like a person when you look at it.
So as I moved, it gave that matrixing that it was following.
And it looked like it was following him. And we actually put up debunked.
Nice.
So,
Val had a question. I'm sorry, Justin.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that it happens all the time. You know, and asking for help is one of the best things you can do.
And see, that's another thing. Like for those that come on to our Paranormal Inc. page, feel free to post. I mean, there's no criticism, no judgment. That's what the page is for.
Yep.
If you have something you can't figure out, throw it up there.
We'll look at it.
Let everybody give their. I mean, that's why we're in this to begin with, right? To come up with answers or validate something or get something concrete. So
it's called peer review in the paranormal field.
Yep. Let's work together and figure it out.
We go by the mantra one love because we want everybody to be one cohesive team. And making sure that we're all in this together. That's the only way we're going to progress and move forward.
And what better way to debunk than to learn by things that have been debunked? You know what I mean? That's how you, as it progresses, you reference back. Oh, yeah, I've seen this before. Do you remember that one photo or that one video?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Jess.
Okay, Val had a question. How do you all take constructive criticism when you guys come into your investigations?
I think basically we just nailed that question.
Yeah, you did.
We
You did.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. What it is. Everyone sees things different, and
I mean, that's why I shared the photos, because I want the feedback. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And if you're seeing something completely different than I am, let me know. Show me. My mind is open to this.
Yeah. Well, I want to make a add to this real quick. A lot of people are afraid to be wrong because it insults their ego in a certain way. And a lot of people feel like if you tell them they may be mistaken or wrong or whatever, they can feel defensive immediately. And there's a lot of that out there, and that's not great. But I'm the same way as you guys. I definitely am open to criticism, to peer review. I had a guy that Derek shared one of our videos in the Anomalous page. Derek can help me remember the name of the group. But he came on and he was attacking my scientific method, and we talked for a couple days and back and forth. And at the end of it, he applauded my openness and, willingness to, be peer reviewed on our methodologies. And it's tough sometimes to put your stuff out there so people can pretty much be a school teacher and grade your work, where other people say that they're paranormal investigators, but you don't see what they're doing. And they could just say whatever without even being peer reviewed. So I just wanted to kind of throw that in there. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, here's one of the things I have a problem with, because one of the things is with paranormal investigation, there really is no scientific method at this point, because we don't know how it works on the other side.
Right.
So it might be something like the world's largest ghost hunt, which we just did this past weekend. I love for one reason, because this year they started at 12 o'clock in the afternoon and went all the way to midnight. The reason for that is you can't tell a spirit to go, hey, at this time, at this date, do this.
Mm-hmm.
It might be, the sun's energy. It might be.
And people are always under the misconception that you have to investigate at night.
No, it could be in the daytime.
Yeah.
So there's not any set rules in this, so we can't reproduce it. That's one of the reasons why the scientific community tries to just say it's not real, because you can't reproduce it.
And to be quite honest, back in the beginning, when I started doing this regularly, some of the best still photos that I've ever caught have been during the day. They weren't even captured at night.
Probably because the lighting is ideal.
Yeah.
So that's right now the paranormal field. If you take medicine and you go back 200 years and you get impaled in your shoulder, what is most likely going to happen to you over the next week? Most likely you're going to be dead, because loss of blood or infection, it's going to take you. Today, same thing happens. Most likely you're going to walk away with a nasty little scar. Right now, the paranormal field is in that infancy. Mm-hmm. We have a long way to go. We're trying different things. We're throwing things at a wall and seeing if it sticks. And if it works, we try to expand on that. So that's why I'm so passionate about this, because we're just learning.
And that's the only way that any of us, anywhere around the world, is going to figure this out, if everyone works together and shares their evidence and shares their theories and their ideas and come together. It's not some people post stuff and, it's easy to figure out. And I almost feel bad saying, I know what it is. Yeah. How can I say this without upsetting them? Right. Yeah. But it shouldn't be about that. Right. We're all in it for the same reason.
Look at Thomas Edison. When he invented the light bulb, how many tries? I think it was like 500 some tries to find the right way to do it. We've got to try that. We've got to go through that process. How many tries? I won't be surprised in 200 years if we pick up the phone and go, hey, great grandma, guess what your great grandkid did today? And she's been dead 100 years. You never know.
I'm not going to hold my breath, but that would be great.
I won't either, but
that would be great.
You get my point. It's like,
absolutely, I do understand. I agree 100%. I think the best we can do now is try to weed out what we can say with a high percentage of probability what's not paranormal.
Right. Absolutely.
Cross things off. And then when the more you narrow it down, the smaller the field of research of anomalies and unknown factors shrink, so it's easier. But yeah, I do agree. You know, applying science to the paranormal is definitely not jiving right now very well. But there's a few things you can do. But at large, you're dealing with subjective human beings with subjective experiences. Like, you know, Ernie stated before, you can't replicate them in most cases. Right. But it's very mysterious to try to apply any methodology to investigate them. But I think a lot of people agree that hearing the claim, hearing the report, and addressing each claim and each report head on is the best way to go. I seen a shadow in the hallway. You go investigate that. You try to replicate it. You try to find ways or reasons for that to happen that are explainable, and go from there. You don't say, "Oh, you seen a shadow in the hallway? Let's pull out the spirit box." That's kind of not the right way to do it when you want to actually investigate things.
Well, on our YouTube channel, we were at Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. So me and my cameraman, who was a friend of mine, we're on a paid-for trip, and we're just having some fun. We go into the child's area, and it's my cameraman and I. I'm sitting in a chair, and I'm talking just out loud, and I said, "Hey, you want to play? I love to play. I have 2 daughters at home. One's named Amanda and one's named Grace." And you hear plain as day a little girl say the name Hannah. We actually have the video up on our YouTube. So I try to debunk it. First thing is there anybody else around? There's nobody else around. It's 2 guys in there. One's with a camera and me sitting on my duff, just kind of talking out loud. So you never know what you're going to get, where you're going to get, how you're going to get, and you can't reproduce that. So you can't really apply a scientific method for things like that.
You can't do debunking it.
Right. So when you're trying to debunk it, then that's where you got to go through. And I use I do this actually as a network engineer. I use Occam's razor. Cut everything else away, and what's left must be the truth. And that works for me as a network engineer, and I've just applied that pretty much for my whole life to figure things out. So if you could say, "Oh, there's light over there," or "Hey, there's somebody coughing over there," or somebody talking in the background, can I apply this? Is it debunking it here? And that's how you try to cut it away and figure out what it really is.
Right. Jess, did you want to ask Val's question?
Yeah, I have 2.
Okay.
Mine is, what is one thing when you're in this field, what is one thing to do and one thing not to do?
To me, my thing is I always bless in, bless out. So I am a lay minister with the United Methodist Church. I've been certified. I bless coming in. I bless coming out because I don't want to take anything home with me. That is a definite to-do. A don't do is don't be that fly-by-night paranormal investigator. If you're walking into a potential situation, if you go into a pay-to-play, you know what you're expecting. If you're going into a real place, a real case, not knowing what you're doing, you can cause more damage than good.
And I think I can answer that 2-part question in one answer. Mm-hmm. I never provoke.
No, God, no.
And it kind of goes hand in hand with the question because, one of my theories is when you're born, everyone's born innocent. Mm-hmm. Okay? What paths you choose in life, what things you decide to do, things along those lines. As an innocent child or baby, you haven't reached that point yet. So I feel when someone passes away and goes to the other side, they've returned to that. It's possible that they've returned to that original state of mind that they were in. Now, can spirits be angry and whatever? Of course. Now, like with me, I'd love to be at home. So if I was ever to haunt somewhere once I die, it would probably be my house. Now, if I don't feel like speaking to you tonight, as me being a spirit, who are you to come into my house in 50 years and threaten me and dare me? And, you have to go in and realize the surroundings that you're in and possibly who you're dealing with or what they may have experienced in life and approach it that way. So
kindness
yeah,
and love.
to answer her question, under no circumstances do we ever provoke. Now, will you challenge something? Yeah, I dare you to move this, or, hey,
can you do that again?
Yeah, can you go over and touch Dave? But as far as going in and threatening and cursing, and no, I don't like that.
Yeah, that did segue and answer Val's question perfectly.
Yeah.
So you answered two questions
at once
without
without even knowing it.
Yeah, hey, that's the cop coming out in me, right? Make it brief.
Yeah. When it comes to let's see if I remember. Oh, provoking. We definitely had a show a couple weeks ago about provoking, and a lot of people don't realize is when you guys do a lot of residentials. If you provoke, one of the things that I'm worried about is not only is it you bringing something onto your life and your family's lives, what are you doing to the client? You're making matters worse for them.
What are you going to leave afterward for them to deal with?
Right.
And the thing is, if the spirit you're dealing with, in the latter part of their life, if they weren't the best person or if they did something they shouldn't have done, I believe when you pass away, everyone deserves and gets forgiveness. And I guess that goes back to, we were originally saying that I started researching this from a religious standpoint. And, I just feel that everyone, no matter who you are or what you did, you deserve that respect. You lived your life, you suffered, and